Om Badram Karnebihi Shruniyama Devaha Badram Pashyem Akshabihi Rejatraha Sthirairangayir Tushtuvam Sastanobihi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swastinah Indro Vridrashravaha Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinah Tarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti 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 यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रक्षुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वदाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुताय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथाभूतं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon to folks who have joined for part 13 of Mundaka Upanishad. So let's get straight into the crux of it. So we are doing the second kanda, as you know. The second kanda is the practical application of Paravidya. So in the first kanda, Angirasa was giving a lot of information about what is Paravidya, Aparavidya, and so on. Yayatad aksharam adhigamyate. Never forget that particular line of Angirasa. So it's all well and good saying that, when we learn, when we understand that all knowledge ultimately lead to Aksharanamaka Paramatma, then that is Paravidya. But then how do you apply this in practical life? And that is what the second kanda is talking about. तदेतत् सत्यं मन्त्रेषु कर्माणि कवयो यानि पश्यन् तानि त्रेतायां बहुधा सन्ततानि तान् आचरत नियतं सत्यकामाः येषवः पन्ताः सुकृतस्य लोके यदा लेलायते अर्चिः समिद्धे हव्यवाहने तदा आज्यभागावन्तरेण आहुतिः प्रतिपादयेत् यस्य अग्निहोत्रम् अदर्श पौर्णमासं आचतुर्स्यमासम् आग्रयणम् अतिथिर्वर्जितं च अहुतम् अवैश्वदेवम् अविधिनाहुतम् आसप्तमान् लोकान् हिनस्ति काली कराली च मनोजवा च सुहोलिकिता या च सुधूम्रवर्णा स्फुलिङ्गिनी विश्वरुचि च देवी लेलायमाना इति सप्तजिह्वः एतेषु यश्चरते ब्राजमानेषु यथा कालं च आहुतयो हि आददायन् तं नयन्ति एताः सूर्यस्य रश्मयो यत्र देवानां पतिरेको अधिवासः एहि इति तम् आहुतयः सुवर्चसः सूर्यस्य रश्मिभिर्यजमानं वहन्ति प्रियां वाचम् अभिवदन्ति यो अर्चयन्त्यः येषवः पुण्यः सुकृते ब्रह्मलोकः. So this is what we did last week. We did this last 3 verses, and we looked at the various, component. What are the various types of flames, and what are the tongue and the mouth of the flame, and how the yajna should be done when the flames are, are dancing, and that is when you have to do this. And how do you have to think about this fire, not just as a material fire, but that Agni is Agni Narayana. And how you look at the 2 tongues as the 2 eyes of this Agni Narayana, and then you do Ahuti to the mouth, where you do the Ahuti. And if you do with that perspective, if you do that Yajna as a sacrifice of the Supreme, so whatever we do as a sacrifice of the Supreme, then that becomes Paravidya. And when you do such a Paravidya, you may not go right now, but at some point in the future, you will make the trip to Vaikunta, or you could make the trip to Moksha through the rays of the sun. And we did a lot of discussion about what is Devayana, what is Pitruyana. So that is what the mantra is saying here, that he who does yajna or sacrifice as a dedication to Paramatma will eventually make the journey towards through Devayana to Moksha, which is an abode where you never come back again. Yeah. So that was what we discussed in all its depth. I think Devayana and Pitruyana, still lots of stuff needs to be discussed. But of course, we have to make progress in our Upanishad. So, but having that idea of Devayana and Pitruyana is important. So that journey of souls is very beautifully summarized in these verses, isn't it? Yeteshu yascharate brajamaneshu yata kalam च cha ahutayo hi adadayan tam nayanti etaha suryasya rashmabir yatra devanam patireko adivasaha येहि एहि इति तम आहूतयः सुवर्चसः सूर्यस्य रश्मिभिर्यजमानं वहन्ति प्रियावाचं अभिवदन्ति अर्चयन्त्यः येषवः पुण्यः सुकृतो ब्रह्मलोके. So the devas, they hold the hand of the jivas and then take them through devayana to moksha and say, look, they give him, they talk great things about him. They say how wonderfully you have run your lives, how wonderfully over this millions of lives that you had, that you've used your sadhana sharira to good use, and that you are now making this journey by divine grace. You are a very elevated soul, or is how the devas are praising him and say, look, you have done lots of punyas and sukrutaha. Because of this, you are going to Brahmalok. So they praise him and then take him. Okay, so you can take this literally, but you can take it metaphorically to say, when we discuss about this Arthavada, isn't it? The concept of Arthavada. And you can understand that the devas, the Abhimani devatas, they take this jiva on to its onward journey to Satyaloka, and at the end of Brahmakalpa, Chaturmukha Brahma takes all these jivas, they all cross the Viraja Nadi, shed their linga sharira or the material coverings, and jump on to the other side, which is called Devanam Patihi Adivasaha. Or you could also call that as Brahmaloka. This Brahmaloka could be Satyaloka, which is a loka of Chaturmukha Brahma, or ultimately it is a loka of Brahman. Brahma Shabdashta Vishnaveva, our Acharya has emphatically established that. So you go to the Brahmaloka. Okay, so that is really is the journey of souls. We either do the Pitruyana or we do the Devayana. If you are doing Pitruyana, you are going round and round in circles. But Devayana is one straight road. It is one way. It's a one-way road. You go directly to Paramatma if you desire to go the Devayana route. Okay. So this is interesting. So this now takes us to the universal application of Yajna. Okay. So I think this is something that will be useful for us to actually think about this problem a little bit more, because Angirasa is teaching Shuanaka from a perspective of the Vedic life in the Vedic times. Yeah. So in the Vedic times, as we know, Shuanaka was a big Yagnashalaha, Mahashalaha. So he was doing all these yajnas. So Angirasa is teaching him from that perspective, because that is what was the job of Shuanaka. He was doing all these yajnas. That was his job. Yeah. So Angirasa is teaching him how do you approach that job that you're doing, or that work that you're doing. So that is from a Vedic times, right? That is applicable to the Vedic times. But how about now? How do we apply this at this point of time? Yeah. Is this practically relevant? Does it make any sense to actually think about this great second, kanda of this Mundaka and bring it to practical philosophy? And the answer is 100% yes. So we have to, in fact, that is, Upanishad is eternal philosophy. Vedic philosophy is eternal philosophy. It is not something that is applicable only to Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. It is applicable to Kali Yuga, and it is applicable to all the Divya Yugas that has happened ever in this history of the universe. Yeah. So what was applicable then is very much applicable at this point of time. So we need to have this global view of what that yajna is. Okay. So can I call upon one of us to recite this Gita 3rd chapter? Let us not do all the verse. Shall we just do the 10th verse? Gita chapter 3, 10th verse. Who wants to take this up? Neetaji, do you want to do that?
Yes, you can. सह यज्ञाः प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसविष्वत्वं विशेषवोस्त्विष्टकामधुक्.
Thank you, Neetaji. So if you look at the 10th verse, that gives you an introduction to this. Saha yajnaha prajaha srishtva purovacha prajapatihi. Okay, look at this Prajapati. Who is Prajapati? Anybody wants to tell us who Prajapati could be there, could be in the 10th verse of chapter 3? Quick quiz. Who is Prajapati?
Chaturmukha Brahma.
Fantastic, Anandji. Thank you very much. So, Chaturmukha Brahma is called Prajapati. So, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, see, ever since the dawn of creation, Prajapati is also doing yajna. So, whoever is born in this creation, whatever sentient being that is out there, okay, they all have to do yajnas. They all have to do, work. They all have to do various sacrifices. What is the sacrifice of Chaturmukha Brahma? Create the universe. Yeah, up under the instruction of Lakshmi and Narayana, then he takes this 24 tattvas and then brings the various evolutes of the universe, right? He starts off, then Rudra takes over, and then other Abhimani Devatas do their sacrifice. Everybody is doing their sacrifice. Purusha Shukta, Yagnena Yajnam Ayajanta Devaha Tani Dharmani Pratamanyasan. Very, very clear verse of Purusha Shukta Rigveda, where it says, all the devas are doing their yajna. They are doing their sacrifice. They are doing their job. Okay, that is what it is. They are doing their job, their prescribed duties. Everybody is doing. Everybody has got a role in this universe, is what Krishna is saying, and they are all doing this. Okay, including starting right from Prajapati. And of course, Krishna himself says, although I don't have to do anything, even I also do stuff, such as bringing forth the creation and so on. So, doing yajna or activity is a characteristic feature of sentient beings. Okay, doership is a characteristic feature of sentient beings, and that is what karma yoga is all about. And the second half of the second chapter of Gita is all about. Yeah, jivas are doers. They are dependent doers, and Paramatma is an independent doer. Those schools of philosophy that think that jivas are non-doers and they are inert entities, it is their problem. I really wish them good luck. I don't know what kind of progress that they are going to make. But from a Krishna's perspective, everybody is doing work. Saha yajnaha prajaha sruštva purovacha prajapatihi. Okay? Again, Krishna here praises Prajapati here. Okay? Again, it's an Arthavada. Yeah? Stuti, we have done the Sruti, Ninda, Parakruti, Purakalpa, Iti, Arthavadaha. There are four aspects to it. Either you praise or you censure, or you take an example of a person's action, which is here, Prajapati, or ancient traditions. So from time immemorial, folks have been doing this. Okay. So that is one view of yajna. So yajna is in essence jobs, sacrifice. Okay? Not just, as I said before, fire sacrifice. Any job that we might be doing is yajna. Yeah. In fact, yajna comes from the root word yaja. So let's think about this yajna a little bit more. It comes from the root word yaja. So which could be what? Deva pujana, sangati karana, or dhana. So those are the three meanings of yajna. Yeah. Deva Pujana, worship of deities. You may want to do worship of the Supreme Paramatma, or you might want to worship the Tattvabhimani Devatas and pray them that they take you towards Paramatma. So that is the worship of the deities. So that is Yajna. Sangati Karana. So you and all of us who are here in the satsang, this is a Yajna because this is a Sangati Karana. So we are here together talking about the Supreme. Or if you are doing dana, you are doing charity, that is also considered as yajna. Okay? So in essence, yajna is the work prescribed for one according to their competency and qualification in whatever phase of life that they may be. So that is the overarching definition of yajna. Okay? So we should never lose sight of this definition of yajna that is given by our Vedic rishis and given by Vedic philosophy. It is not just throwing stuff into the fire. Yeah, that is the first point I just wanted to emphasize. Gita, of course, and we in various chapters, as we make our journey through Gita Chintana, we will realize that Krishna gives a definition of various types of yajnas. He describes what is Satvika yajna, what is Rajasic yajna, what is Tamasic yajna. And he says, yajna is dana. He says it is penance, it's devotion, it is study, it is acquiring knowledge. They are all yajnas from a Krishna's perspective. If you look at Garuda Purana, it also talks about various yajnas: Brahma yajna, Pitru yajna, Deva yajna, Bhauta yajna, Manushya yajna. This is interesting. Garuda Purana saying Manushya yajna. What is Manushya yajna? Manushya yajna is the job that you do. A selfless job that you do to serve society and humanity is called Manushya yajna according to Garuda Purana. Okay? So have this kind of a wider view of a yajna. So when you have that wider view, then the philosophy of Gita around karma yoga fits in very beautifully. Because what does Krishna say and what does the Vedic Rishi say? Yajnas are also of two types made. Okay? It can be kamya yajna or akamya yajna. Okay? So let us look at kamya yajna, which is what we all do. And we do various penances, go to temples and do stuff and say, look, let this good thing happen to my children, my wife, my husband. May I get this good job. May I progress in my career and all that kind of penance that we do. They are all types of yajnas, but they are kamya yajnas. They will incur karmic imprints. Yeah. Sorry to burst that bubble, but that is what it is. We will have our karmic imprints if we are going to the temples and say, give me this and give me that and so on. Okay. We will have our karmic imprints. Yes, we have gone to the temple that will give you some punyas. That is also a karmic imprint. But you will have some benefits because the Supreme Being is so graceful to us. Although we are doing kamya yajnas, he will give us some benefits. So that benefits may be here and now in our current birth. You may get some, you may do some penance and you may reap some benefits of this in this present life. That is your karma coming to fruition, the karmic imprints coming to fruition. Or it may be that you will reap the benefits in afterlife. In afterlife, maybe you will go to Swarga or somewhere. You may go to Swarga or higher levels of existence. And we know that this kind of Kamya Yajnas, the maximum we are going to go is up to Chandraloka. Some of us may be lucky to go to Chandraloka and then make a U-turn and come back to Pitriyana and then go to Mrityuloka. Yeah. So that benefit is still there. We are going to Chandraloka and having some fun, isn't it? And then after, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of years, say the Vedas, we will then make our descent, gradually enter into earth. Okay. So that is also a benefit. So you will get that benefit. That also comes out of your karmic imprints. So if you do kamya yajnas, or kamya work, or kamya yoga, as Krishna says, karma, kamya, yeah, yoga, as you know, kamya karma. So that leads to karmic imprints. So you can have benefits in this life, or you can have benefits in your afterlife, go to Swarga, but then you will come down. There is a fate. What is our fate? We will come down to the Mrityu Loka again, go round the circle, which is what Pitruyana is. Yeah. But what Angirasa is telling and teaching Shuanaka and through him to us is the perspective of Yajna, which is all the things that you're doing, personal, professional, spiritual, and whatever else that you may be doing. If those jobs are, the perspective of how you're doing it changes too. For example, akamya karma or akamya yoga means without any desires. Yeah. Desire means what? What? Desires for our own selfish benefits. This is what we are doing in our karma, in our kamya yajnas, when we go to temples and say, please do this, I will give you 100 rupees and I'll put this in the hundi. Or I will do this big sarvaseve or mahapuja, do this to me. Yeah, those are all the karmic imprints that you will get. But if you do it as akamya, okay, so what is that? Selfless spirit is what karma yoga is all about, isn't it? What Krishna is telling. Yajna is a karma. Yeah. So if you do that karma yoga in that selfless spirit, the advantages for you is you may not get karmic imprints. So that is the immediate advantage of doing this. Okay. But there is a bigger advantage of it. What is that bigger advantage? When you start doing the selfless spirit, then through knowledge, you will be able to, the karma will become jnana. Yeah. Jnanottara karma, as Acharya says, it becomes a jnanottara karma. And then what you do everything as a dedication to the Supreme. So that is when you are making that, a yajna from a different perspective. Okay. So these are all the two yajnas that we need to remember. And how we put this in our practical politics is a tough one, but at least that is what the theory is all about. So we need to get this grounding, very firmly with regards to yajnas, which is what Deva Pujana, Sangati Karana, and Dana. Okay, so hope that gives you an idea, because the reason why our Angirasa is doing this is in the very next verse. This is a beautiful, beautiful verse. So he says, Plavahi ete adruda yagna rupaha ashtadashoktam avaram yeshu karma yetat shreyo ye abhinandanti mudaha jara mrutyum te punareva apiyanti. Verses are super, super clear, man. And we should never forget that. Yeah. Plavahi ete adrudaha yajna rupaha ashtadashoktam avarameshu karma. That fellow who does the yajna with kamya, with a motive, a selfish motive, that person who does the yajna, that way, he is actually riding a boat with holes. I'll come to that a little bit more. That's a beautiful metaphor to tell us how we should be running our lives. But then here, I just wanted to revise again this karma, because yajna and karma, they are all related. That is why Angirasa is bringing that in this equation. Yeah. He says, avaram yeshu karma. Avaram means lower karma. Lower karma is what? Kamya karma is lower karma. Yeah. So he who does lower karma and does yajna from that perspective is actually riding a boat with full of holes. Yeah, that is what he is saying. But to understand what is that karma, we really need to go back to the basics again, and we should never lose opportunity to review basics in Vedic philosophy. Okay, karma, the basics. Okay, so who is going to give us a whistle-stop tour of karma, the basics? I've got all these illustrations here. Anybody wants to take the karma basics and talk to us about this? Or shall I just pick one? Sureshji, are you there?
Yes, Madhu.
I'll go for it. Give us a brief summary of karma, sir.
So karma, in terms of classification, I mean, as the picture very clearly illustrates, there are three types: the sanchita karma, the kriyamana karma, and prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma, perhaps those that are in they are into action, and irrespective of the state that we are in, even if one attains aproksha jnana, one will have to endure it and complete the prarabdha karma. Sanchita karma, and the point is that every karma that we do in each life, we do inculcate so many karmic imprints that it is multifold of lives that are needed to get rid of them. So the only way of getting rid of any karmas is by divine grace. And it is and that's what the Lord will do once we are an aproksha jnani, where the sanchita karmas will be dissolved. And it's just the completion of the prarabdha karmas which remains. And it is these karmic imprints which are there, which actually define the creation, where based on our jiva swabhava and our nature and the prayatna and the karma that we have done, which actually define our role and what we do in life. So maybe, Madhu, that's how at least I've tried to understand.
Beautiful, Sureshji. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's quite an exhaustive and beautiful summary of karma. So remember three, as Sureshji said, Kriyamana, Sanchita, and Prarabdha. Sanchita is all the bag of karma that we accumulate, and where does our karma go? They go on the Linga Sharira. It's an imprint on the Linga Sharira that determines what happens to the jivas. That is one point. The next one that you have to remember is the Supreme take notes of the thoughts in our mind only. Okay, that is the most important part that influences karma. And also the karma, if you have a sadhana sharira, the karma starts at 14 years of age and goes up to 80 years of age. If you're below 14, you don't incur any karmic imprints. If you're over 80, you don't get any karmic imprints. That is the Vedic view on this. Animals do not get karmic imprints. Only humans get karmic imprints because the human's intellect is very advanced. So we have the discriminatory power to say which is Shreyas and which is Preyas and make a decision about something. Yeah, animals don't do it. They act by their own inherent nature. So karma happens only to humans, only to jivas who have a sadhana sharira, which is the human form of life. Okay, devas and devatas, the devatas don't get any karmic imprints. Okay, they don't get any karmic imprints. All tattvabhimeda devatas are aparoksha jnanins already. And as Sureshji said, aparoksha jnanins by definition don't have any karmas. Okay, so these are all some of the key ideas about karmas that we need to remember, because once we understand and have that in our mind, and then what Angirasa is saying falls very well. Now it is also,
Madhu, can I ask a question here?
yeah,
You said devatas don't incur karma phala, isn't it? When Bhagavatam, somewhere it is said, even devatas wish to have a human life so that they can proceed from where they left off. I mean, how will that?
yeah. So yeah, it is. Devatas love to come to the view there is Devatas would like to come to earth in the human form of life, because in Kali Yuga, for example, they don't have to do a lot of good deeds to get their get their benefits. All that they have to do is just a Harinama, and then they can go. Whereas the Devatas, for example, have to be, for one mantara, they have to do the sacrifice and so on. So it is from that perspective it is mentioned, Shilaji. Harish, you had something here?
Yeah, so if just to clarify, does every karma need to follow this karmic framework, meaning it's either sanchita or prarabdha, or is it only a subset of the actions we do in this life?
For which one, Harish?
So is everything that we do in this life, a jiva does, is this one of the, is it a kriyamana karma then? Or
Yeah,
is it only
in one sense, yeah, because Krishna has already said, isn't it? There is not a single point in time in the existence of jivas that they are without any karmas. They're constantly doing some activities. So whatever jivas are doing, they are incurring karmic imprints, and that karmic imprints, there are some limitations to it, saying that happens in the evolved forms of life, not in the lower forms of life. And that will have, say, for example, I've given an idea, I've given an example here. Action performed in the wakeful state, mental, physical, or combined yield fruits. Eating food fills up our stomach, and we feel that we are full. So even that act has actually got a reaction, and that reaction is we have satiety and we feel that we are full. Even that is a reaction. Anand.
Madhuji, the terminology prarabdha karma is used for aparoksha jnanis. For non-aparoksha jnanis, it is prachina karma.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the insight there, Anandji. So one view there is, of course, destiny and fate. Some people say, "Oh, this is my destiny." No, that is only the karma that Anandji was talking about. You're absolutely right that the terminology prarabdha karma, at least from Acharya Shastra, strictly should be used only once the jivas have attained their aparoksha jnana and they've got all this the sanchit karma that is come into fusion that needs to be exhausted. So that is prarabdha karma. Thank you very much. So we move on. So here I think it is a bit important for us to think about karma in other philosophies. Okay, so Jainism, karma is material. Buddhism, it is called kamma, and it is unreal. It's an illusion. Yeah. So there is a lot of fuss about karma in that school of philosophy, but the bottom line is it's an illusion. It's unreal. It does not exist. Okay. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika also accept karma, and for them it is real. And then we have one strand of modern Vedanta called Advaita, where karma is mithya. It is anirvachaniya, sadasat vilakshana, not really real. It is mithya, and mithya is non-different from unreal. And we can go on for hours talking about unreal and mithya are the same. Mithya and illusion is pretty much the same. And in that philosophy, strangely, jivas are non-doers. Yeah. So these are all unique views of this Mayavada philosophy that folks need to know. Because in Bhagavatam, for example, it is very clearly stated, dravyam karmashcha kalashcha swabhavo jiva evacha yad anugrahatah santi na santi edupeksha. Karma, yeah, under the control of the Supreme. Yeah. And our Vedic philosophy says there is an Abhimani Devata of karma. His name is Pushkara. Okay. In Rajasthan, I think there is a temple for Pushkara. Yeah. So he is the Abhimani Devata of karma. Okay. So karma pretty much is real, and it is an imprint on the Linga Sharira. And that happens because the jivas do some action. Okay. If the jivas are not doing action, and if this karma is an illusion, I don't know how one can build a airy-fairy philosophy with no foundation, and how they are going to look at Angirasa's verse, only God knows. Yeah. So what is that Angirasa's verse here? Plavahi ete adruda yagna rupaha ashtadashoktam avaram yeshu karma. Hold on to that idea. Avaram yeshu karma. Okay. So why did I say that? So let's spend some time talking about this. Plavahi ete adrida yajna rupaha. So plava means boat. Adrida. Drida means a strong boat. Whereas adrida means a broken boat or a weak boat, or a broken boat is what? Having holes. Yeah. So if you do a yajna or any act that you're doing, and if you're doing that with a selfish motive, if it is a kamya yajna that you're doing, or a kamya karma that you're doing, sakamya karma, as Gita talks about, if you do that, then that is like a broken boat. Why is that a broken boat? So this illustration is very beautiful, because a boat with holes will sink. Okay, so if imagine you are using a boat and you are crossing an ocean, okay, and if that boat has got these holes in it, you are never going to be able to cross this ocean. And our Vedic philosophy say that this samsara is an ocean, samsara sagara. Yeah, this samsara is an ocean. Yeah, and if you have to cross this samsara, you need to have a boat that is very strong and that will not have holes in it. Okay. But Angirasa says, if you do your actions in this samsara, you will sink, mate. You will never cross this ocean. You will never reach the destination if you're doing your yajna with this perspective. Okay. So I think that's a very apt example, because our Vedic philosophy talks about samsara as an ocean. And we are all sunk in this ocean. We are just barely we are able to keep our head above the ocean and surviving. But we are sinking down, and then again we are trying to come up. So that is what we are doing. Our whole life is this, that we are having this boat which has got holes and we are sinking. We think that we are sort of repairing those holes, but there is another hole that is appearing elsewhere, and again we are sinking. Yeah. So this is what this yajna rupa is. Plavahi ete adrudaha yajna rupaha. So this yajna that you're doing, you have to be very, very careful. Yajna rupa, yajna. So as I said from the previous slide, the yajna, there is worship of the deities, Deva Pujana. So how you do that perspective becomes extremely important, because if you're ignorant and if you're not knowledgeable, if you don't have the knowledge or the perspective in which you do this yajna, then you are in a very, very difficult situation. Yeah. So what is that situation? Ashta dasha oktam avaram yeshu karma. So ashta dasha. Ashta means what? 8. Dasha means what? 10. 18. So what karma you're doing? In this context, the prakarana, in this context, what is that yajna that Angirasa is talking to Shuanaka about? Shuanaka, you're doing all this yajna-shala, right? In yajna-shala, who are the folks? You got 16 ritviks, then you have yajamana and patni. So these are the 18 numbers, 18 folks who are required to do yajna. Yeah. And that yajna, that is ashta dasha uktam avaram. If you do with this perspective, what is that perspective? Adruda. If you do this yajna as a broken boat, that is avaram yeshu karma. It is the lowest of karma that you do. Yeah. So who wants to take up Gita 249? Anandji, do you want to do that?
Yes, thank you. Durena hevaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripada phala hetavaha.
Thank you, Anandji. Beautiful. So Krishna also says, but there is another karma. Durena hi avaram karma. So this karma that Angirasa is telling us, that is the lowest of karma. But buddhi yoga, buddhi, there is knowledge. Yeah. Buddhi yoga jananjaya. So this buddhi yoga is a higher version of this. Jnanottara karma, as Acharya keeps reminding us again and again. Okay. So when you again, it makes good sense to compare Gita and other Upanishads, because they talk the same thing. Durena hi avaram karma. Ashta dashoktam avaram eshu karma. So they're telling us the same ideas here. Okay, so let's come back to this. So this boat with holes will sink in samsara, and that is what we are doing. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves. We are traveling on a boat with holes. Yeah, we think that we are doing yajnas, but are we doing that properly? We are not. Yeah, 99.99% of the time we are not doing that. And if we are not doing that, we will incur karmas. Yeah. The ignorant consider, so you and me, the way we are running our lives is that we think that because we are doing some action, which could be whatever, maybe we have given some dana to somebody, but we have done that dana because for our own selfish benefit. Maybe we have done some puja in the temple. Maybe we have done that for our selfish benefit. Yeah. So those are all ignorant people, censures Angirasa. He says, Yetat shreyo ye abhinandanti mudaha. So they think this is the highest form of sacrifice. The ignorant consider such inferior sacrifice as a means of good and delight in these. So they think this is the best that is out there. Yetat shreyaha ye abhinandanti mudaha. So Angirasa is actually telling us all off. You say, you guys are fools. Yeah, you are mudas. Why? Because when you do such an action, when you do your life in that perspective, what is happening to you? Jara mrutyum te punareva apiyanti. Jara mrutyu. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Remember all those Gita verses. So Jara and Mrityu is what? Jara and Mrityu is for all of us who have a material body. We are born, we are youth for some time, we make fun, make our careers. Eventually the body withers, becomes, gets tired. Then you get into old age. Then you leave this body. Then you go back, acquire another body, and then go round in circles. That is what is going to happen to us. Yeah. Yetat shreyo ye abhinandanti mudaha jara mrutyum te punareva apiyanti. So these verses are very clear. The Angirasa is telling us about how that karma should be done and what is that importance of karma and how that karmic imprints can have a negative influence on us. How we have to go to akamya karma, selfless, and then as a surrender to Paramatma and so on. All these things are discussed in the Vedas because karma is real. Karma happens when the jivas do work. Yeah. Let us not, for God's sake, say karma is an illusion or a mithya and the jivas are not doers. That is not the view of the Vedic philosophy. Yeah. I just need to remind folks about this. If we are serious about Vedic philosophy, we need to take our rishis' advice here, and they are clearly telling us what is going on here with regards to the journey of souls. So let's move on as a journey of souls. Let's keep going. So just to summarize, this samsara is an ocean. Yeah. So samsara is an ocean, and we need to go to that other bank, which is the Devanam Patihi Eko Adivasaha, where that Paramatma is there. That is that bank. That is the moksha. And we have to use a boat and go there. Yeah. How do we go there? Okay, so if we use an adrudaha, plavahi ete adrudaha, we are going to sink in samsara. Whereas Krishna in 436, he's telling us what is that boat that we have to use that will help us cross this ocean and go to moksha. So who wants to take a 436, please? Shall I pick one? Yeah, Pragnesh, go for it. Pragnesh, go for it.
Thank you. Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrutavah sarvajnana pladevedai ruchidam saddarishyasi.
Thank you, Pragnesh ji. Yeah. Sarvam jnana plavena eva. Okay, look at that, plava. Angirasa also has used the same word, plava. So when you do this comparative analysis, is very, very interesting. So, jnana plavena eva vrijinam santirishyasi. Jnana plavena eva. Whereas what are we doing? Plavahi ete adrudaha. Because of ignorance, we are using inadequate boat. But if you use the jnana, if you have the jnanottara karma, then you have a chance that this boat can eventually go to the moksha. Yeah. So plava comes very often in Gita and other Upanishads, boats. Yeah, they're very good examples. So I hope you found that interesting. They use this illustration and we can see whether we can reconfigure our lives. And at every action that we are doing, we can say, are we taking another step towards going to this moksha sthiti, or are we taking a step to sink ourselves in samsara? That is what Angirasa is telling us. Now, I want to close this idea about yajna with this very, very beautiful sets of verses, again in chapter 3, 14 to 16, the yajna and the wheel of life. And I think this is important for us to understand how Krishna gives 7. Remember 7. Okay, this Angirasa's philosophy to Shuanaka involves a 7 everywhere. The number 7. Asaptaman lokan hinasti saptajihvaha. Yeah, so we have done all that 7 in Angirasa. So that is a similar idea that Krishna is telling us in chapter 3. So who wants to recite 14, 15, and 16, please? So I want one of us to go for all the 3, and then we think about what is that wheel of yajna that Krishna talks about. So who wants to take that? Shilaji, do you want to do that?
I will try, Mother.
Yeah, thank you.
14, 15, and 16. Fourth number. This is third. Oh, okay. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavah yajñat bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhavah karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayah aghayurindriyara amo. I think Ramaha. Aghayurindriyaramaha mogham partha sajivati.
Beautiful, Shilaji. Thank you so much. So this 14, 15, 16 is actually a beautiful, it's an amazing verse that Krishna gives a summary of how this whole universe, forget about our own, mundane, stupid, we are not even a speck in this universe, but we think this is our center of we are the center of universe. But Krishna actually gives a comprehensive view of how this yajna is happening, and everybody has got a role to play it here. Okay, so let's just take this. I've just put this for our benefit here. So you have Anna. Anna is what? All these crops that make food. Okay. So how does the Anna comes? Anna comes from Parjanya. Parjanya can be 2 things. It is either the clouds or it could be the sun. So there it is the key scientific view of our rishis, where they had it fixed and they had it figured out that it is the sun. From the sun, the rivers, water evaporates, it goes up and it forms the clouds, and then from the clouds come the rain. So Parjanya is clouds, but also it also means the sun. So rain is important for food. Okay. How does rain happen? Okay, the rain happens because of yajna. So there is a bit of a confusion. Just because if I throw something into the fire, how is it that the rain is just going to happen? Okay, so there are various views of thinking about it. Okay, for modern man like us here, environmentally conscious work as a dedication to Paramatma will bring rain. Okay, otherwise we are going to have drought and all sorts of climate change that happens, and we are all seeing this all around us with global warming, drought, and so on, and happening in other places. Why? It's because of our own selfish action. If, for example, we have followed the Vedic principles for a long time, I don't think we would be at this point of time actually suffering from all this. Yeah. So in fact, the Isha Upanishad, what does it say? Isha vasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjitaha magradaha kasyasviddanam kurvanneve iha kuru karmani jijiji vishet shatang samaha evam tvayi na anyad eto asti na karma lipyate nare. We have even forgotten that because we don't do that. Yeah. So this world is Paramatma's. And whatever we do as a dedication to him, and we are using his stuff that he has given us. So we are grateful for that. So those are all the things that we do in our modern day life. If we do that, then rain is going to happen. Then nobody is going to have drought. But people get drought because we are not doing this. It is not an environmentally conscious work. So that is from a modern, mundane human being's perspective. But in the Vedic times, these yajnas are also used to be in sacrifice to to, to adore the devatas who are giving rain, who are giving the Surya Devata who brings water, and who gives sun, the clouds. So every devata is worshipped as be grateful to them for allowing this to happen. So you're grateful for what is happening in the natural world, but behind any material thing, there is always a conscious principle in Vedic philosophy, and you adore and you worship those conscious principles and say, thank you very much for doing this for us. And when you have that mentality, you will be environmentally conscious. So that is how you link everything. So that yajna is directly related to parjanya. Okay. So yajna is what? One of the karmas. There are lots of karmas that we do in our life. Yajna is a type of karma. Okay. Karma comes from where? The karma comes from Brahman, who is Vishnu. Sarvagatam Brahma is what Krishna has said here. Yeah. So the Brahma there is Vishnu or Krishna himself. Because every action that we are doing, we are dependent doers, right? So it is Brahman who is actually independently making us do various karmas as per our swabhavas. And how do we know that Brahman? We know that Brahman through Akshara. What is Akshara? Vedas. Veda is also called Akshara, right? And there are various ways. And there is some subtle, interesting things here. Different acharyas interpret this Brahman as Veda, this Akshara as Brahman, and some acharyas view this Brahman as Vishnu and this Akshara as Vedas. So that is for those of you who are interested in the nuances of that. And then finally, what? Bhuta. So it is a circle. Bhuta is you and me, jivas, in sadhana sharira. So what should we be doing? We are bhutas. We understand the nature of the universe through our Vedas, and we understand that this Brahman is the center of this universe, and that everything is dependent on him, and we as sentient beings, we are doing various karmas, and that karmas should be yajnas that actually is devoted to the Supreme. And when we do that, everything falls into place. Rain and clouds, everything happens, and then we get our crop, and we have a sadhana sharira which is healthy and good because we have food to eat. And with our sadhana sharira, we can go around and do akshara, brahma, karma, yajna, parjanya. Okay, so this is the cycle that is going on about yajna that Krishna talks about. Yeah, so this is a beautiful, beautiful link, and this cycle is constantly going. All the yugas it has been going, and right from creation. And Krishna has spoken about that, how Prajapati was also doing the same thing. So the key thing there is everyone must play his part in turning this wheel. Yeah, we cannot run away. Yeah, if somebody is doing something in his professional life, he has to do it. Yeah, because that is his role in the universe. Okay. We just can't wear a ochre color clothes and say, I am giving up and running away and sitting in some corner and doing some meditation. No. Krishna has said that very clearly. Angirasa is also saying that we all have a role to play in this universe, and we have our role in this universe to turn this wheel. Okay. Whoever fails to contribute his share fails to do his duty, and his life is a vain existence, as our Acharya is saying. So I hope you are able to get these views of what is this yajna that Vedic philosophy talks about. It is certainly not throwing stuff into the fire. Yeah, I keep saying this again and again because I think that's an important idea. It is every work that we do is yajna. Yeah. And that yajna is all intertwined in the operation of the universe. You may not be aware, but what you and me are doing is actually influencing the universe. And the universe is also influencing us. And how is that happening? It is through this cycle. The cycle, the seven spokes of this cycle. Okay. But there is a problem. Not all of us are doing this. Most of us belong to this category. What is that category? Whoever fails to contribute his share fails to do his duty, and his life is a vain existence. And we fail to do this because we are in constant ignorance. We think we are great in our professional lives, but actually we are shrouded with ignorance. And that is what our Rishi Angirasa prompts us in the very next verse. Let's see if we can make some progress with this verse. You will be very familiar with this verse because we have done this before. Immediately, Angirasa says, those fellows who don't do the yajnas properly, what is that state? Why do they not do their yajnas properly? Is the question, right? Why is it that you and me, We are not doing our yajnas and our jobs, our professional jobs properly. We think we are, but actually we are not. Why are we not doing our personal, professional, spiritual jobs properly? अविद्यायामन्तरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीराः पंडितं मन्यमानाः जङ्गन्यमानाः पर्यन्ति मूढाः अन्धेनैव नियमायता अन्धाः. Okay. That is what is the censuring of Angirasa. He is telling us off. I think we need to take it very seriously because that is what we are running. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha janganyamanaha pariyanti moodaha andenaiva niyamayata andaha. You will remember we had a similar verse in Katha Upanishad when we did this verse. When Yama also says the same thing when he is giving the Upanyasa, Upadesha to Nachiketa, he says, Avidyayam antare vartamanaha or Veshtyamanaha swayandiraha panditamanyamanaha dhandramyamanaha pariyanti moodaha andenaiva niyamayatan. So Katha Upanishad also says the same thing. Yama says the same thing. Now here is another Upanishad, which again we spoke about briefly when we were doing Katha Upanishad, called Maitrayini Upanishad, again part of the Krishna Yajurveda. That also says the same thing. And in fact, in that Upanishad, the story of Nachiketa is also discussed there. The incident between Yama and Nachiketa is discussed in Maitrayini Upanishad. And that also says the same thing. Avidyayam antare veshyamanaha swayam dhiraha Panditam manyamanaha dandramyamanaha pariyanti moodaha andenaiva niyamayata andaha. Each one of us here, we are sitting in this fence. What is this fence? This fence of avidya or ignorance. Okay? We are all sitting in this ignorance and we think what we are doing is the most knowledgeable and the most influential act in the universe. The sad situation is all of us are sitting in this fence of avidya. Yeah. And what are we doing? We're sitting in this fence of avidya and we are saying, Swayam Dhiraha. I am very wise. Whatever I'm doing, I'm very, very wise. I'm a great scientist. I'm a great physician. I'm a great IT specialist. I am a great banker, whatever. So we think we are Swayam Dhiraha. We are very brave and because we are very wise. We think we are Panditas. Yeah. Swayam Dhiraha Panditam Manyamanaha. So that is what our state Angirasa is saying. Yama is also saying the same stuff. Yeah. And when the rishis say that, we need to take serious attention to that. And then they say our lives is Janganyamanaha or Dandramyamanaha. What is Janganyamanaha? Janganyamanaha is derived from Jaganyamanaha. Jaganyamanaha means lowest levels of existence. Okay? We are actually running our lives in the lowest form. Yeah, we think we have a sadhana sharira and doing this, but actually we are not. We are hypocrites. Yeah, the day we realize we are hypocrites, probably is the day we will actually start making some progress in our lives. But we have not even reached that state that we actually are aware. We don't even have an insight that we are actually running in a lowest form, lowest levels of life. Although Paramatma has given us the sadhana sharira, we are Jaganyamanaha. And because of Jaganyamanaha, what is going on? Pariyanti Moodaha. Pariyanti means round and round in circles. Round and round in circles where? In samsara. Who? Moodas, that is you and me, who are fools, who are sitting right in the middle of ignorance around us, and we are running lowest forms of life. Similarly, Katha Upanishad, yeah, also uses the same, really harsh words for us. That is not telling us off, but actually giving us a wake-up call. And that is what the idea is, to give us the wake-up call here, guys. So here Yama says, Veshtyamanaha. Avidyayam antare Veshtyamanaha, which means is also a fence. Okay? But he says, Avidyayam antare Veshtyamanaha Swayam Dhiraha Panditam Manyaha. And what is our lives like? Dandramyamanaha. Okay? Drumavat Vyartam Jivanti. Okay? So Dandramyamanaha means we have this sadhana sharira, but our lives is like the trees. Purposeless in the sense that they're just there. What kind of sadhana is the tree is going to do? The tree can't do karma. The tree can't do shastra abhyasa. The tree can't do satsang. It is there as a tree because of whatever karmic imprints the jiva in the tree has had, and that it has become a tree. But even of having a body of a human being, our life is like a tree, completely useless. We are just sitting there. The tree also eats, we also eat. The tree also reproduces in form or the other, we also reproduce. The tree also makes various chemicals to protect itself, we also protect ourselves. So the same thing, us and the trees, there are no difference. But the rishis are asking us, wake up, yeah. Think about this in a higher perspective so that you can turn around. The idea there is you have to make that boat strong. You have to ensure that there is no holes in that boat so that you can move forwards. But we have also understood from Krishna's thing, only jnana, only knowledge will make that boat strong so that we cross and go to our bank, which is moksha. But we are surrounded by ignorance. So we are going round in circles. How? Because we are in this boat with holes and we are sinking in this samsara. So that is how you link this verse from the previous verse. Yeah. So Keno Upanishad, what does Keno Upanishad says? Avijñātam vijñānatam, vijñātam avijñānatam. Okay, this is a beautiful verse from Keno Upanishad, which, as you know, is also called Talavakara Upanishad, which is part of the Sama Veda. It is, if you study Chandogya Upanishad, you should study Talavakara or Keno Upanishad, where Chaturmukha Brahma is imparting the Vedic philosophy to Rudra. That is the context. So where Chaturmukha is telling Rudra, he who knows that he knows not is the real knowledgeable person. I need to know that I don't know anything. Yeah, that is the starting point. Yeah. So the same thing comes in an Arabic proverb. He that knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool, shun him. Okay. So that is what we are at this point. So we all need to be shunned because we think we know everything. But our rishis are very clear. They are saying that we don't know anything. So that should be the point. He who knows he knows not is the real knower. Yeah. So that is where we have to start, is the view of Yaman Agni Angirasa. Why? Because ignorance covers the jivas. Yeah. So ignorance does not cover Brahman. If ignorance covers Brahman, we are not here talking about this. It's very clear from the language and the direction that the ignorance covers jivas. Swabhava Ajnanavada of realistic Vedantas of Acharya. If Brahman is sitting covered by avidya, Yaman Angirasa is then telling Brahman off here. Okay. You are saying, Brahman, you are avidyayam antare vartamanaha. You think you are a dhira. You think you are a pandita. Yeah. You are janganyamanaha. You are living the lowest forms of existence. You are going around samsara. You are a blind fool. Okay. Will Angirasa or Yama going to be telling of Brahman? Okay. So we need to look at all this. Just not pick up some airy-fairy philosophy and build a big castle around this. That's unfortunate. But that is available out there for people to grasp and ingest or digest or indigest or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So when you look at this avidyayam antare vartamanaha, it is us who are in ignorance, not Paramatma. Yeah, let's not make that fundamental mistake here. Okay. Matthew, New Testament. If a blind man leads a blind man, both will fall into a pit. Yeah. Andena niyama yata andaha. So we are following the blind and we are going round and round in circles, and we are also falling in a pit. And at the same time, if you are going in this boat with holes, we are actually sinking. Yeah. So that is what is our state. Okay. So Angirasa is giving a shock treatment for us so that we make an effort at some point and make that U-turn. Okay. But he has not finished telling us off there. Next session, we are going to do this verse, which is another form of telling us off, but also it tells us, it is giving us some reality here. Angirasa is giving us a reality check. Yeah. Avidyayam bahuda vartamanaha vayam krutartha iti abhiyanti balaha yat karmino na pravedayanti ragat tena aturaha kshina loka shavayante. So, and he is expanding these ideas of how we are running our practical life. We are ignorant. And there are many routes. Ignorant always take many routes, okay? Whereas the knowledgeable always follows one truth, because truth is one. And if the knowledge is taking us to the truth, that route is only one. Whereas if you are ignorant, you will take a million routes. Okay? That is what it is saying. Avidyayam bahuda vartamana. So what we will do in the next session is we'll pick up these ideas, yeah, and then explore this. And I hope you find it interesting, because I think we, as I've told before, we always need to get into either it is Nachiketa shoes or it is, Shaunaka shoes, and then get that lesson from the Guru. The Guru here is Angirasa. Yeah. So through the Guru, we have to have the reality check and then make our progress. Yeah. So that is what this Kanda is doing. In fact, the second Kanda, I have to remind you, the second Kanda is not even started talking about Paramatma. It is not even telling you anything about Brahman. It is setting some ideas about how the life, yajna, how this world is. Yeah. And in the third Kanda, that is where the real philosophy of Brahman starts, in the third kanda of the first Mundaka. That is where Brahman science, the science of Brahman starts from the third kanda, but this is all the preamble to that. And if we have to be eligible, if we are adhikaryans, if we need to have the yogyata to understand Brahman, then there are some basic qualifications that we need to have, which is what Angirasa is saying. Okay, so I will close there, because there is lots of stuff to talk about in these philosophies of Angirasa. And I'll close there. Krishna Pranamastu. And if we have any discussions or any comments, now is the time to take it up.
Madhuji, I had wanted to ask this for a long time, but I think I'm getting it a little bit now. The Prakrita Srishti and Vaikrita Srishti, two types of Srishtis you had mentioned, and in between you had put Avidya, and always said it's good Avidya. Is it this Avidya that which is making this Jivatma with with 24 tattvas, making him to go ahead, realizing his fault and giving us a body that we go ahead from where we are?
Yeah, thank you, Shilaji. I think I got, I think I understood your question. So what you're saying is that 9 stages of creation in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shashtastu Tamasahas Sargaha, as it comes at the 6th stage of creation, is Tamasahas Sargaha. That is where the tamas comes. The tamas is ignorance. So that ignorance is a positive ignorance. Ignorance is not just the absence of knowledge. Ignorance is actually a positive entity in many schools of Vedanta. Yeah. So that ignorance is there because that ignorance almost is like an examination. Yeah. It is that question paper. And what the jivas have to do is, if they have that particular attribute, depending on the swarupa yogyata of the jiva, what the jiva will do is, and if you bear with me for until the next class, Shilaji, I'll pick this up, because Angirasa says, who is that jiva who actually makes the positive, he actually turns around this ignorance that he's got. How does he make use of that? And he says, Pariksha Lokan, Karma Chitan. So there is a one particular verse that is going to come now. Looks, Pariksha Lokan, Karma Chitan. Okay. So that jiva that then examines this universe, Pariksha, examines the universe, Lokan, Karma Chitan, that lokas that it here and everywhere it goes, it starts doing that pariksha, yeah, and it starts examining that, and then it makes a journey, and then it gets rid of its ignorance, and through knowledge it goes forwards, and then eventually it is able to completely shed its ignorance and then go to the moksha sthana. So that ignorance that is there for a purpose. That purpose there is for us to reform ourselves or to pass in that examination. So that is how that ignorance plays there. So it is a very positive thing. I hope it answered your question, Shilaji.
Yes. Thank you. And that is the place where you go to Nididhyasana, isn't it?
Yeah.
After, yeah.
Yeah, you do the Shravana, Manana, and
Yeah,
then Nididhyasana. Then at some point you will get Shakshatkara.
Yeah.
That is why our Maitreya, our Yajnavalkya told Maitreya, right? Atma va are drashtavyaha. So you have to see that Atma, Aparoksha Jnana, you have to see it. Why? Because that is that point your karma will be destroyed. But for that point to reach, what you have to do? Shravana, Manana, and Dhyana. Thank you, Shilaji.
Thank you. And Jnanottara karma is different from this Nididhyasana?
So yeah, same Shilaji. So unless you have jnana, then there is no scope for dhyana, right? Even dhyana is an action. So people who think that dhyana is not an action probably are mistaken. Krishna, of course, says when you are doing asamprajnata sthiti, you don't have to do mundane karmas. That he has given a rule. But even in dhyana, your mind is doing something, right? For those of us who are in samprajnata sthiti. But yeah, so it's everything is action. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sudarshan.
Yeah, I was saying ignorance could be equivalent to hunger, because only if you're hungry, you will eat the right food. So there is a possibility you might eat the wrong food. Yeah. So only if there is an ignorance, then you will seek for the right knowledge. Maybe sometimes you seek the wrong knowledge as well. Is that
Yeah,
good
yeah,
example?
yeah. Very nicely put, Sudarshan. So you could look at it from that perspective as well. And what the philosophers or Vedic philosophers, what they would say is you need to get vairagya, right? You need to get that vairagya. So unless you have vairagya, you can never make philosophical journey. When do you get the vairagya? You will get the vairagya when you realize everything is transitory and there is nothing more. You can go to Swarga, but still you will come back. You can go to the best resorts for a holidays, but still again you'll have to come back to work and to your own home. So it is the same thing, right? So at some point you will say, this is transitory, mate. I don't want this. I want something much bigger. So that is when you make your journey. So that for vairagya to come, I think that hunger is required. Yes, Sudarshan, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Anand?
Yeah, Madhuji, ignorance can be bliss. So that's what you said earlier. He who knows not, and what was that, and does not know what he does not know, shun him. So if you don't know that you have ignorance, there is no motivation for knowledge.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. So there are some people who think ignorance is bliss. That is nonsense. Knowledge is bliss. Yeah, in Vedic philosophy, knowledge is bliss because it is the inherent nature of the soul that it is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. It is Chit. So it is a nature of souls to seek knowledge. So those who think that they have those who don't get that idea, that is one view. But what I was trying to tell you here is that everything has to come with humility and a sense of sacrifice. Yeah, there are people who will read everything and say, I am the most knowledgeable person. Yeah, and the ones that think that they are the most knowledgeable person, they are the most ignorant person, because knowledge of Paramatma, we can only know a little bit, as much as possible based on our capacity. Nobody can know Paramatma fully. Yeah, but anybody who thinks he knows Paramatma fully is a fool. Shun him. Yeah. So that is how the perspective there. It is to try and reduce that ego. And you need to start without ego and then say, look, I don't know anything. And I am trying to make my journey. And hopefully with his grace, I'll get some knowledge so that I can understand something about it. Yeah. So that is how that verse needs to be done. So we need to first understand we don't know anything and then make progress. But what we are doing is, because we think we are all great folks in our professional life, we think we know everything. That is the point in which we are starting our journey. So Angirasa is telling us, first get rid of that and start with a clean slate and say, and accept that you don't know anything. Then you go and approach a guru. That is what Angirasa is going to be telling us in the subsequent verses. How do you approach a guru? What are the qualifications of a guru? What are the qualifications of a student? And so on. So those are all coming up in the subsequent verses, Anand. Pragnesh.
Sorry, just to echo the same, in surgical training path, according to one of the theories, it is called conscious incompetence, which is the second stage of learning a surgical skills, that you know what you don't know, and then you can know what you know, and eventually it is unconscious competence that you know without knowing. Thank you.
Beautiful, Pragnesh. Yes. So that's a super example for practical politics. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Pragnesh, anyway, welcome back. So you've been off action for a few weeks. So nice to see you again.
And again, I'm sorry, but I'll try to log in even from abroad. But thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, good.
I have, as I have mentioned to you in personal message, for last couple of sessions, a friend is joining.
Okay.
If I may be allowed to introduce, he's Harshad Davke. Some of the orthopedic surgeons might be knowing. He's a spinal surgeon in Salisbury. He was trained in Nottingham, so he knows some of you. And Mr. Kulkarni might be knowing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And welcome, Harish Ji. Harish, welcome, Jack. And please feel free to contribute, give your insights and thoughts as we journey along the Atharvana Upanishad.
Thank you.
Excellent. If there are no further questions, just a couple of announcements. Next week is Gita Chintana. Yeah, just want to remind folks. Anand Kulkarni ji is going to take us through the part C of Sankhya Yoga, and hopefully we will kind of do some justice and close Sankhya Yoga next week, and then following week we'll carry on with our onward journey on Mundaka Upanishad. Yeah. So that is the plan for next Sunday. So join me for the Gita Chintana, which is always super popular. Yeah, very interactive session. So I'm looking forward to it. Anandji, if there is anything that you want to share with friends today.
Thanks, Madhuji. I think you said that. So next Sunday is our last session of Chapter 2 Sankhya Yoga. We will start off with an introduction to Karma Yoga, and then Harish Ji will take us through the concept of Sthita Prajna, and thereby we end the part C, that's the end of Sankhya Yoga. Hopefully we should cover it, but if not, the summary of the second chapter will be dealt with in February, end of February.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you, Anand. So if there are no further questions, Anand, you want to take us through Omkara, and then we'll close today's session.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Take care.
Hare Krishna.
Stay safe. We will catch up again next Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna.